Welcome to the Weekly Weeks podcast. I'm your host, Alex. I know I haven't made a podcast in a while. That's because I've been really busy with school. But I decided to make a really big one for the beginning of 2020. So during 2019, I decided that I was going to have a goal to watch a certain amount of movies. So originally, I started out with 360 movies, and then I realized how unrealistic that would be. So then I shortened it to 180. And then I also realized that was not very realistic either. So I went with 100. I ended up watching 101 movies last year, and today I'm going to talk about those 101 movies. Now, I don't count the movies that I've only watched partially. I only counted the ones where I watched the whole movie. So I'm going to start talking about these movies. The first movie I watched this year was called Ginger Snaps. This movie is about two teenage girl sisters that are misfits, but then one of the sisters gets bitten by a werewolf, and she becomes a werewolf, and I don't want to say hijinks ensue, but it kind of happens like that, and basically it's like a journey of their development with each other, and it's a very interesting movie. Not a lot of people that I know have heard of it before, but if you like drama and horror, Lord, I can't speak today apparently, I would recommend it. The next movie I watched this year was The Royal Tenenbaums. If you like Wes Anderson, you're gonna like this movie, and if you don't like him, you're not gonna like this movie. That's all I have to say about it. It's also about a dysfunctional family who's really weird and eclectic, and it's a Wes Anderson movie, so what else do I have to say about it if it's weird and eclectic, you know? Anyways, the next movie I watched, which I'm really excited to talk about, is called Yentl. So, Yentl is about a Jewish girl who isn't allowed to read the Word of God because of the time period she's in. So, she pretends to be a boy and runs off, and she's really good at reading it, and then she falls in love, and it's romance and drama and singing because Barbra Streisand plays Yentl. And let me tell you, I love this movie. It has to be one of my favorite movies that I watched this year, and I would recommend it to anyone who likes musicals. If you don't like musicals, you might not like it. It sounds boring for the time period, and it sounds like a boring plot. Very interesting, though. Also, if you like The Princess Bride, one of the characters from that movie is in this movie as well, and I do have to say it was one of my favorite movies that I watched this year, and I would recommend it to anyone. Even if you don't like musicals and you like the drama and the romance, you'll really like Yentl. The next movie I watched was Shape of Water. It's about a deaf girl who bonds with a fish man. It's kind of almost like Beauty and the Beast, except the fish man is captured and not the lady. It's really good. The cinematography is beautiful. Guillermo del Toro has beautiful cinematic, He's just good at directing, okay? The way he uses the colors and the scenery and the music, he just knows how to put a movie together, and I would recommend, if you've never watched any of his movies, he also made Pan's Labyrinth, and that's a really great movie too. The next movie I watched was Avengers Endgame, and I wasn't a huge fan of this movie. It was good, and it did make me cry at the end, because growing up on Marvel since I was 10 years old, it's like a big impact on me. It's a closing chapter of my life, and it's a closing chapter of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. If you like superheroes and lots of famous people in a movie, you'll probably really enjoy this, and I would recommend it to you. Okay, so now we have Dazed and Confused. If you like throwback movies that represent the teenagers, you'll probably like this movie. I thought it was okay. I watched it a few years ago, and I hated it. I used to hate movies where, they were it's back in time, where they're teenagers, ah ha ha ha. But you know what? It was a pretty decent movie. Very interesting intake onto people's lives in the 70s. Okay, also, I have seen a bunch of these movies on the list, and it's not my first time seeing all of these. But the next movie I'm talking about, let me tell you about this movie. The Goofy movie. A classic Disney film. When you think Disney, you probably don't think a Goofy movie, but that's what I think. It's such a heartwarming movie about a son and his dad, and they just bond and they connect and they learn about each other, and it teaches you great lessons in life. And I think anyone who's never seen it should watch this movie. The movie after this, not so much. The movie after this is Master of Disguise. So this movie did not age well at all. It wasn't good when it came out in the first place. But like as a kid, I was like, oh, this is so funny. And I was like rewatching movies from my childhood. So I was like, all right, let me watch it. It was so bad. I do not recommend to anyone. It's gross. I mean, if you want to watch it, go ahead. But in my opinion, it is a garbage movie. So the next movie I'm going to talk about is called Chocolat. It is a movie about a woman and her daughter go to a French village and they shake up the people's lives, but like it's kind of old-timey. And then Johnny Depp's on the movie poster, but let me tell you, this is a spoiler alert, he's barely in that movie. And I was like, what the heck is going on? The whole time, it is a weird movie, but I wouldn't say weird in a good way. But yeah, if you like Johnny Depp, you get to see him for a little bit. Other than that, the movie doesn't really have a lot going for it, I think at least. But that's just my opinion. And throughout this whole thing, I will be expressing my opinions. I hope y'all know that by now. And, of course, spoiler alert ahead. I know it's a little late for me to say that, but I figured I'd mention it anyway. Lord, the next movie I watched was Van Wilder Party Liaison. It's a National Lampoon movie. It's not good. I don't recommend it. I have nothing else to say. It's about a boy who just stays in college long and parties, but then he finds love and yada yada yada, but like crude humor. I don't think it's that great. If you like crude humor, or more like, it's more like potty humor. It's not good. I would not recommend it, but if you like that kind of humor, maybe this movie's for you. Okay, so the next movies I watched were all 3 Austin Powers movies. I'm kind of going to collectively put those together. Not as one movie, but I'm just going to talk about them in general. So they're kind of a spoof on like spy movies, like James Bond and stuff. And I've been watching these movies as a kid, and they also have crude humor and like potty humor sometimes, but it's a little more executed better than, say, Van Wilder. So these movies, all 3 of them were on Netflix this summer, or last summer, I should say, in 2019. And my friend Laura had never seen them before. And I was like, what? You never seen Austin Powers? So we decided to watch all of them. And you know what? I still like them. I think they can be really dumb at times, but they are funny. And they do have a good, like, spoof action. So I watched Austin Powers, International Man of Mystery, which is the first one, Austin Powers, The Spy Who Shagged Me, the second one, and Austin Powers, Goldmember, which is the third one, and I watched that one the most when I was a kid. I have it on DVD and everything. But, if you like Mike Myers, you're gonna like this movie. It's, not for everyone, but if you like kind of dumb humor, but some stuff in it's really funny, you know, and you like spy spoof, but not like, I don't know what other movie to compare this to right now, but I'd recommend it if you like dumb humor, but not like too dumb like Van Wilder. That's just bad. Anyways, you should watch these 3 movies if you like that kind of humor. The next movie I watched was Teen Wolf. I feel like some people consider Teen Wolf like, it's an 80s movie, it's so good. Like, it's not that good. I don't even know anybody that actually talks about Teen Wolf, except the TV show, which apparently is very good compared to this. The movie's bad. I didn't like it. If you like comedy, but like, the main character turned into a werewolf, and it's funny, and he's more popular when he becomes a werewolf, which, I don't know, it's not good. I don't recommend it. The movie that I watched after that, though, which I thoroughly enjoyed, was Mermaids. So Mermaids is not about mermaids. Spoiler alert. It's about a single mother who relocates a bunch of times because she can't find the man of her dreams, I guess. And her daughters go through a bunch of stuff throughout the way. So you have Cher, Bob Hopkins, Winona Ryder. If you love Winona Ryder, like I do, you'll watch any of her movies, even if they're not the best. This one's a better one, though. And Christina Ricci, she's like a little kid at this point. But it's like, it's kind of like a coming of age, but like kind of dealing with your family. And it was made in 1990. I personally really liked it. I didn't think I was going to like it at all. I didn't really know what to expect, but it took me for a whirlwind. So if you want like something fresh that's not really extremely lighthearted because it's a romance and a drama, I would recommend it. Okay, the next movie I watched is The Dead Don't Die. Now, let me tell you, the only reason I went to go see this movie in the first place is because Adam Driver's in it, and I love Adam Driver. Adam Driver is the guy who plays Kylo Ren, if you guys didn't know. And in 2020, he's nominated for an Oscar. I don't know if he's going to win, but he's an awesome actor, and I appreciate him so much. Anyways, I hate the movie. Very, I don't know what kind of sense of humor you would call it. It was kind of like dry humor, but I didn't particularly care for it. But it's got like Bill Murray, all kinds of other people are in this movie. Selena Gomez is in this movie, which is really kind of weird. But if you like dry humor and it kind of just drags on forever and ever and ever, you might like this movie. After this, I watched Charlie's Angels, which, not the new one from 2019, but the one from 2000, which I love. It's so cheesy. It's got Cameron Diaz. It's got Lucy Liu. It's got Drew Barrymore. It's very 2000-esque, and it's Charlie's Angels, so they're kind of like spies, but like they're female. There's 3 of them, and yada, yada, yada. Bill Murray's also in this movie. If you like lighthearted action-adventure comedy, it's good for you. And I enjoy it personally. The next movie I watched is Coco. This is a Disney movie about a boy who wants to become a singer like his grandfather, but his family doesn't want that, and it's an animated Disney movie, and it is so beautiful, and I would recommend it to anyone. It's a family movie, it's adventure, it made me cry. Most Disney movies make me cry, but this one was very sweet, and I would recommend it to anyone as well. Also, it's his great-great-grandfather, not his normal grandfather. The next movie we watch is My Big Fat Greek Wedding. This is a comedy, drama, romance about a girl who works in her father's Greek restaurant. The reason I watched this is it was on HBO at the time, and my mom used to really love this movie, so I figured I'd give it a shot. It's okay. It's not bad. It's definitely not your ordinary romance movie, but if you like romance movies, I recommend it. It's pretty funny. The next movie I watched was Girl Interrupted. It's about a writer named Suzanne Kaysen, and she stays in a mental hospital for 18 months in the 60s, and it kind of is like through her journey. Winona Ryder's in it. That was the reason I watched it. And I've seen it before in high school, but I decided to give it another shot because I didn't really like it when I was in high school. Also, Angelina Jolie, Brittany Murphy, Clea Duvall. I love her too. She's awesome. As well as Jared Leto, even though he's not that much in the movie. But if you like him, I would recommend it. Also, Whoopi Goldberg is in this movie. Like, look at all these stars they put in this movie, you know? It's really drama-oriented, though, and I'm pretty sure I cried, but I watched this at the beginning of the year, so I can't remember everything that happened. But if you don't like sad dramas, I would not recommend this, because it's definitely pulls on your heart, and, you know, it's a good movie, I guess. I don't know. I wasn't a huge fan of it. I've watched it twice. I don't know. It's not for me. The next movie I watched is Men in Black 2. I did not watch the first one because I hate the Roach Man. Spoiler. There's a Roach Man in the first one, and he's so gross. It grosses me out, and I not like it. So I was like, I'm just gonna watch the second one. The villain doesn't freak me out. And this lady, she's like snake fingers, and it's Men in Black. It's about people fighting aliens and stuff, and it's kind of like action, but it's comedy too. And I don't know if you like cheesy humor. It's not extremely bad in my opinion, but it's definitely cheesy humor. The next movie I watched was Drive Me Crazy. This movie is like a classic 90s, high school movie flick. That's all I have to say about it without spoiling it. It's about two people who aren't really friends, but they live next door, and they end up falling in love. That whole trope. It's good, though. Or it's okay. It's not amazing, but it's not horrible. It's very late 90s, 1999 to be exact, so pretty late 90s. The latest 90s it could get. But if you like cheesy romance movies from the 90s, you'll probably like this one. It's not as good as the other ones, like 10 Things I Hate About You, which I am going to talk about later because I did watch that this year. But it was good. Oh, the next movie I watched is Up. So Up is, I'm sure most of you know Up by now. It's been out since 2009. I've been waiting 10 years to watch this movie with my dad. And we watched it together, and I cried really bad at the beginning because everybody knows the sad part of Up. It's been out for 10 years, and it's hard to watch that. It's sad. But it was okay. I wasn't extremely impressed with it, I'm not gonna lie. I think it had a good message, but if you like Disney movies, or rather Pixar movies, I guess they're like the same now, but you should watch it. It's really nice. It has a good ending. Ooh, the next movie I watch is Big. Big is about a kid who wishes he was big. What he means is he wishes he was taller, but he ends up turning into an adult and has to live his adult life. And guys, look, it sounds weird, but Tom Hanks does an excellent job at portraying like a little kid who's like become a grown-up in a short period of time and doesn't even know. And it really teaches you some lessons about like growing up, I guess. It's supposed to be like that, and it's so good. It warms my heart, and I would recommend it to anyone. If you haven't seen it, please watch it. It just makes you appreciate the little things in life. I think at least, but I could be wrong. Watch the movie and let me know what you think. The next movie I watched is Never Been Kissed. Another late 90s romance, high school thing, but it's weird because the girl is a reporter, but then she pretends to be a high schooler, and it's actually really weird, and it's not good. Drew Barrymore's in it, though, so if you like Drew Barrymore, you should watch it. It's definitely not her best movie. It may be her worst movie, but that's my opinion. Ooh, the next movie I watched was Yours, Mine, and Ours. Yours, Mine, and Ours, the original one from 1968. Lucille Ball's in it, Henry Fonda, that guy from Animal House who plays Otter. I don't actually know his real name, which is sad, but it's Yours, Mine, and Ours, but it's in the 60s and not the one with like Dennis Quaid. I think it's Dennis Quaid in the new one. And all the other people. It's the same plot. It's lighthearted. It's a family movie. If you're in the mood to watch something lighthearted, I would watch it. It's cute. Okay, the next movie I watch is Roadhouse. Oh, Lord, let me tell you about Roadhouse. So, first of all, the reason I wanted to watch Roadhouse is I was watching Parks and Recs, and Andy was, like, quoting Roadhouse or whatever. So I was like, fine, I'll watch it. I tried watching it before, but I didn't really get it, and I watched it again, and it still doesn't make any sense. It's a weird movie. It's definitely a cult classic, I think, but it's not good. Not that all cult classic movies are good anyway, but it's about a bouncer who has to fix a bar up, but then he ends up falling in love, and there's a lot of fight scenes, and it's weird. And for the longest time, I thought somebody's head got kicked off, but that actually didn't happen. And it's just a weird situation. The next movie I watched was Basic Instinct. That movie also did not think it was that good. One of the biggest parts about it is everybody's like, Sharon Stone's so hot. Is she so hot? Well, you know what? Michael Douglas is not that good looking, and they're paired together, and it's about a lady who writes books about killing men, and I don't know. Plot sounds cool, not executed well, not a good movie. Nope, do not recommend. The next movie I watched was called Cruel Intentions, and I've seen this movie a bunch of times. It's about two step-siblings who make a wager on a girl, and the stepsister's like, oh, I'll do something for you if you take this girl's virginity. It's weird. It's based off of a book called Dangerous Liaisons, which is quite old, I believe, and they actually made a movie about that, but this is like kind of a retelling of it, except modern. At the time, it was made in 1999. It has Ryan Phillippe, it has Sarah Michelle Gellar, and it has Reese Witherspoon. And let me tell you, this movie is not for everyone, but if you like drama and romance and people figuring out that maybe they're better than what they really think they are, I would recommend it, I think. But most people probably wouldn't like this movie. The next movie I watched is Coneheads. It's based off of an SNL skit that was made in either the 70s or 80s. It's got Dan Aykroyd and some other people that aren't as important. Chris Farley is in it, though. It's a comedy movie about aliens who come to Earth and try to live as humans, and that's basically the whole plot of the movie. If you like SNL type of comedy, you'll probably enjoy it. But other than that, you probably won't. The next movie I watch is The Breakfast Club. Let me talk about The Breakfast Club. The Breakfast Club used to be on my top 10 movies. And then I watched it this year, and I was like, what is this movie about? It's very confusing. It's very drama-esque, and it's about teenagers who are stuck in a day in detention, but the plot's very all over the place. As a teenager, I really liked the movie, and I thought it was so cool, and edgy, but now that I've grown up, I guess I don't really like it as much anymore. But if you like that kind of, teen drama, and, it's interesting to see all of them together, and I do like their outfits. Their outfits are cool. I do love the 80s, and I like the style from the 80s, and I appreciate the style of the movie. But anyways, the next movie I watched is Nosferatu. Nosferatu is a silent film. It's basically the first Dracula movie ever. It's in German, I believe. Personally, I thought it was quite boring. Some silent films are really good, though. But there was one scene in it where they, filmed a Venus flytrap, which really didn't have anything to do with the movie, but was really cool. And some of the effects in the movie were very advanced for 1922. If you want to see an old classic horror film, and I mean classic, no words, I would recommend. I personally wasn't a huge fan of it, but if you like classic horror, you probably should watch Nosferatu. The next movie I watch is Zombieland. And if you like comedy and zombies, you're going to love this movie. I'm personally not a huge fan of Zombieland, but to each his own. The new one actually recently came out. So if you really like Zombieland 1, you're probably going to like the second one, I'm guessing. Anyways, the next movie I watched is Igby Goes Down. This is a drama about a kid who wants more in life, but like he has like a messed up family, and his brother takes his girlfriend away, and it's kind of sad, and it's really messed up, and like, okay, the ending's like, it's so weird. It is so weird. Susan Sarandon's in this movie, so if you like her, I would recommend it. Also, Macaulay Culkin's brother, Macaulay Culkin. Why did I say Macaulay Culkin? Or maybe I just made that up. Macaulay Culkin's brother is in this movie. He's the main guy. Also, Ryan Phillippe is in this movie, and I also like Ryan Phillippe a lot. I guess, like, as a kid or like a teenager, I was like, oh, he's so cute. He's still kind of cute, so. The next movie we watch is Bride of Chucky. Let me tell you, I've seen every Chucky movie except the new one that came out last year, which is a disgrace to the Chucky franchise, in my opinion. Also, I'm sorry, Mark Hamill, you should have never voiced Chucky. You can't replace, Brad Dourif? I think that's how you say his name. You just can't do it. But I watched Bride of Chucky, and it is the 4th movie in the series. There are 7 total in the original series, and they're supposed to be making a TV show. So, hopefully one day I can bring my friend Gia on this podcast to talk about the movies, because they are something else. They're not, like, amazing, and they're not everyone's favorite, and people are scared of dolls, but, like, Chucky's stupid. Like, he's stupid funny. He's not as scary as, like, you think he would be. It's not like Annabelle, It's more like this crude serial killer is put into a body, but, like, he just curses all the time, and it's actually really funny. And this one's, like, the first, like, more comedy version of it. So the first 3 are very comedy. The 4th and 5th are more comedy. And the last 2 are more horror. I don't want to go too much into detail to it because I feel like I'm going to talk about this in a different podcast episode. But I just figured I'd mention it briefly. Anyways, Chucky has a bride in this one. I don't really want to say anything else, but that's kind of like the basic plot for the movie. Also, Katherine Heigl is in this movie, which is weird because you know her from like 27 Dresses and other stuff that's not Chucky. The next movie I watched was Pulp Fiction. If you like Quentin Tarantino, you're going to like this movie. It's kind of like the Wes Anderson thing. Like, if you like Quentin Tarantino's style, you're probably going to enjoy this movie. It's also big drama and lots of crime. And there's blood, so if you don't like blood, I wouldn't recommend. And there's some scenes in there that are less to be desired. I don't know. It's not for everyone. It's definitely not for everyone. But if you like Quentin Tarantino, it's probably one of his best films if you ask anybody who's a Quentin Tarantino fan. I think it's good. I personally like Kill Bill Volume 1 better, but that's just my opinion. The next movie I watched is Lady Bird, and I hated that movie. It's basically another teen movie, but it's based in 2002, but the girl's just, she's such a, excuse my language, she's such a bitch in the movie, and I don't like her, and it's just sad, and she doesn't care about her friend, and I don't like it. It's a very coming-of-age story. I heard it got, like, awards and stuff. Like, it's a good movie. It got a good critic score, but I just don't like it. The next movie I watched was Jumanji: Into the Jungle. It's just a movie where kids go into a video game and they're the characters and they have to escape. It's just like Jumanji, but it's a sequel to Jumanji. It's okay. It's not as good as the original. It's funny, though, for the most part. I think it's not, like, the worst movie I've ever seen, But there's other movies that I would consider more funny. Like the next movie I'm going to talk about. Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. If you've never seen it, please watch it. It's pretty dumb humor. But if you love Keanu Reeves, watch this movie. They're about to make the third one. They have a second one too, obviously. But it's funny. It's about Bill and Ted. It's called Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. And they go back in time for their history report. And they get all these people like Billy the Kid and like Napoleon. And it's funny and it's cheesy. And it's like, they're like dumb teenagers, but like it works for them. It's not like we're dumb teenagers, ha ha ha. Like it's a good movie. And if you love 80s movies and almost early 90s movies, you're probably gonna love this movie. And if you love Keanu Reeves, you're gonna love this movie. So you should watch it. It's pretty good. The next movie I watched was Jason Goes to Hell. This is part of the Friday the 13th movies. Obviously, it is like, I think it's like the 9th movie, maybe. It's bad. It's not good. Watch the original one. I think the second one's good as well. I've personally never seen them, and you're probably asking, why'd you watch the 9th one? Well, it was on Netflix, and I didn't have anything else to do, so my roommate and I decided to watch it, and it was just bad. And some parts are really gross, and I did not like it, so I wouldn't recommend. And like the next movie is Jason versus Freddy, and they like fight in hell, I think, but don't quote me on that. I would look it up. If you're interested, go watch all the movies. Why not? If you're gonna watch the first two, you might as well watch the rest of them. But I guess you could say the same thing about Hellraiser, and I've only seen the first 4 because we know that after that it's not that great. The next movie I'm going to talk about is Pan's Labyrinth, and earlier I kind of talked about it because I talked about Guillermo del Toro. He directed the movie, and it's beautiful. It's in Spanish. It combines wartime in Spain with fantasy, and it's interesting to see how a little girl perceives the world around her as it kind of like crumbles, essentially, I guess. I would recommend it. It's a good movie. It's in Spanish, so you do have to read subtitles, but it's definitely, I would say, like a masterpiece. It's pretty good. The next movie, which I've seen a bunch of times. Okay, I lie. I haven't seen it a bunch of times. I've seen it one time before this. It's called Virgin Suicides, and I was like, maybe we'll watch it again, try to give it a chance. Kind of like Girl Interrupted. It's about a group of friends who kind of become obsessed with these girls, and the girls end up, like, killing themselves, and it's really sad. Kristen Dunst is in it. It's definitely a drama. It's hard to watch, because, like, basically a girl goes on a date with this guy, and she comes home late, and her parents shield her from everything after that, and they don't let them go to school, and that's why they end up killing themselves, and oh, it's just so sad. I don't like it, but if you like drama movies, you might like it. The next movie we watch after this, which is a complete 180, is Mars Attack. It is a weird movie by Tim Burton. It stars a bunch of people. It's got Glenn Close, Natalie Portman, Jack Nicholson. Tom Jones is in it. Like, I think also Danny DeVito as well, but he has a small role. Weird movie. It's about aliens attacking, and if you like Tim Burton, you're probably gonna like this movie. It's weird. It is so weird. I like it. It's not for everyone. But if you like weird movies that are kind of funny, I would recommend. The next movie I watched was Dumplin'. So Dumplin's about a girl whose mom is a Miss Teen pageant, but the daughter's not really like the image of that. And she kind of tries to follow in her footsteps, because at first she's kind of like making fun of her mom, but then she like, I guess they learn to, like, appreciate each other, and the big part of this movie is it's wrapped around Dolly Parton music. And look, before I watched this, I was like, I'm not a big fan of country, but after watching this movie, I grew more of appreciation for Dolly Parton's music. The movie is very, like, teenager, drama, comedy, and I thought it was pretty good, actually. It was drama-y, but at parts it was lighthearted, and it was like nice to see, you know. The next movie I watched was Thelma and Louise, which is a different kind of drama. It's about two best friends who like run away with each other, and then you kind of think they're in love, but not really, and then they end up harming this guy, and they run away, and there's this big scene at the end that like everybody knows, and honestly, the critics really liked it at the time. I did not like it. And you know what? I really like Gina Davis, and I love Susan Sarandon. Like, they're both great actresses, and I did not like this movie. Also, Brad Pitt's in this, so if you like Brad Pitt, maybe like this movie. Ooh, the next movie I watched was City of Lost Children. This movie is completely in French. Not a lot of known stars. Ron Perlman is in this movie. He plays Hellboy. It is not like Hellboy at all. You actually see his face, and he speaks French. It's basically about a scientist who captures children and tries to take away their, like, dreams, and it's weird. It's very, I want to say, not post-apocalyptic, but, like, a dystopian society. I thought it was really good and interesting. Weird, but interesting. Very fantasy, very sci-fi. The next movie I watched was Metropolis. This is a sci-fi movie that was made in 1927. It started a lot of like sci-fi things, and honestly, the cinematography of the movie is beautiful. The plot's very weird. It used to be very long. Like, it was like 2.5 hours long or something like that originally. But then they cut it because it had a lot of communist views in it. And people didn't like that, so they cut a lot of it out. And then the one I watched was like an hour and 30-minute one. It was on a VHS tape. Sci-fi stuff, very interesting. Plot, lacking. It's about a guy whose dad is like the richest man in the city, and he doesn't really know like how poorness works, I guess, and it's interesting, but I'm not a super big fan of it. I know I'm kind of flip-floppy on that, but I don't really know what else to say about it. Really cool cinematography, though, for a silent film. It is also a silent film. The next movie I watched is 16 Candles. 16 Candles is one of my favorite movies of all time. It did not age well, though. It is definitely not PC for this culture. But, like, as a kid, I was like, oh my gosh, it's about a girl, and nobody notices her. But at the end, she gets a guy she wants. And I guess, like, as a kid, I was like, that's so cute and romantic. And I really like Molly Ringwald. She's awesome. And if you like 80s movies, you'll probably like this, but it is not PC, so if you don't like things that aren't PC, you probably don't want to watch this movie. But if you like cheesy 80s, like high school, like romance thing, you'll probably like this. Okay, the next one I watch is The Room. This movie is known as the worst movie of all time. It is a cult film. I don't actually really know how to explain the plot. It is really bad. Personally, I don't like it that much, but to each his own. If you like bad movies, you'll probably like this one. The movie I watched after that is The Disaster Artist, which is a documentary based, or not a documentary, more like a biography, based off of The Room, which stars James Franco, Dave Franco, and Seth Rogen's in it too, but he doesn't have a huge role. And it basically shows you, like, how The Room was made and stuff, and more on the guy who made it. It's okay. I'm also not a huge fan of it. But that's because I don't really like the original movie that much. But this one was more reviewed as a good movie compared to the original one, which is interesting to see that, you know. Now I'm at about a halfway point of talking about the rest of the movies. And I figured it'd be kind of lengthy to talk about the rest of them. So next week, you're going to get another episode. And I'm going to talk about the other 51 remaining movies that I watched. If you watch any of these movies, let me know. I would love to talk to you about it. And thank you for listening, and thank you for being here. I know I haven't made a podcast in a while, but I appreciate everyone who supports me and supports my podcast, even if it isn't the weekly weeks and it's more like the annual weeks, I guess. But thanks for always supporting me, and I hope you guys have a good night. Bye.